They called me the seductress of empires, the queen who defied Rome, the woman who shaped history with her charm and cunning. But do you truly know me? My story is not one of love alone. It is a story of power, ambition, and survival. Let me show you the real Cleopatra.
The year is 48 BC. The Mediterranean sun beats down on a restless port. Alexandria, the jewel of Egypt, hums with tension. A young queen, barely clinging to power, makes a daring gamble. Her name is Cleopatra. Cleopatra was more than a beautiful face. She was a shrewd politician, a brilliant strategist, and a ruler of unparalleled charisma. This is the story of her rise, her reign, and her enduring legacy. History remembers Cleopatra VII Cleopatra as the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Her story, however, is far from ancient. It speaks to timeless themes: the struggle for power, the allure of ambition, the delicate dance of survival in a world on the brink of change. Cleopatra's Egypt was a nation at a crossroads, caught between a glorious past and an uncertain future. She was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, rulers who had inherited the mantle of the pharaohs, but not their blood. Cleopatra was Greek by descent, but she understood the power of Egyptian tradition. She embraced the language, the customs, and the gods of her people. This connection would prove to be one of her greatest strengths. It would fuel her ambition, solidify her rule, and ultimately, elevate her to the status of legend. Cleopatra's childhood was anything but ordinary. Born in 69 BC, she was a princess of the Ptolemaic kingdom. She received an education that was the envy of the ancient world. Fluent in multiple languages, Cleopatra possessed an intellect as sharp as any blade. She was steeped in the knowledge of her ancestors, well-versed in diplomacy and war. Cleopatra craved power, not for power's sake, but to shape her destiny and that of her kingdom. Cleopatra was born into a kingdom teetering on the precipice. The Ptolemaic dynasty, founded by Alexander the Great's general, had fallen into decline. Centuries of strife and Rome's shadow weakened their power. Cleopatra's family history was a web of ambition and betrayal. Her father, Ptolemy III, secured his throne with Roman gold. Alexandria remained a beacon of culture and learning. Cleopatra's early experiences taught her the fragility of power. Unlike many royal children, Cleopatra's education extended beyond courtly etiquette and diplomacy. She devoured scrolls on various subjects, studied with Greek philosophers, and mastered multiple languages. This knowledge allowed her to communicate with foreign dignitaries, like Julius, Caesar, and Mark Antony. Cleopatra understood the power of words and knowledge.
The Library of Alexandria was my sanctuary and classroom. Here I engaged in debates and honed my intellect. Knowledge was power, a tool to strengthen my rule.
She cultivated relationships and understood the levers of power. Cleopatra's education extended beyond palace walls. Diplomatic missions exposed her to different cultures and political systems. By adulthood, she was a formidable intellect and skilled diplomat. The death of Ptolemy XII. Auletes in 51 BC plunged the Ptolemaic kingdom into chaos. Cleopatra, then 18, was to rule jointly with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII.
My aspirations for power were met with resistance from the court's powerful eunuchs and advisors. They manipulated Ptolemy, turning him against me. Outmaneuvered, I fled Alexandria. In Roman Syria, I gathered support. Exile fueled my determination. I strategized and built alliances. I amassed an army loyal to my cause. My claim rested on my ability to command respect. I watched and waited for the right moment. A direct confrontation would be disastrous. I needed a cunning approach.
Fate soon intervened. Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, pursuing Pompey the Great. In 48 BC, a tremor of change rippled through the ancient world. Julius Caesar, the celebrated Roman general, fresh from victories in Gaul and embroiled in a bitter civil war with Pompey the Great, arrived on Egypt's shores. He sought to secure Egypt's resources and, he believed, Pompey himself. Little did he know, he was stepping into a power vacuum more complex and volatile than he could have imagined.
Caesar, ever the pragmatist, sought to mediate the dispute between my brother and me. He called for both of us to present our cases before him. This, for me, was the chance I had been waiting for. I knew that Caesar, a man renowned for his intellect and ambition, would be receptive to my own sharp mind and political acumen.
However, reaching Caesar, surrounded by her brother's watchful guards, seemed an impossible feat. Alexandria, a city on edge, buzzed with the presence of Roman soldiers, their sandals echoing against the marble grandeur of the city built by Alexander the Great. The palace, once her home, was now a gilded cage controlled by her enemies.
I was not one to be deterred by mere guards or palace walls. I understood that in the game of power, audacity often trumped brute force. I devised a daring plan, a gamble that would either restore me to the throne or seal my fate. The fate of Egypt, a kingdom teetering on the brink, rested on my next move.
Legend has it that Cleopatra, unable to reach Caesar openly, had herself smuggled into the palace. Some accounts describe her rolled up in a carpet, others in a linen sack. The most enduring image is of Cleopatra, draped in a cloak, carried by Apollodorus, past her brother's guards. What transpired next within Caesar's chambers is the stuff of legend.
Discarding my disguise, I presented myself as a queen worthy of respect and partnership. I spoke to Caesar of Egypt's wealth and its potential as a breadbasket for Rome.
She offered him a vision of a Roman-Egyptian partnership. Caesar, captivated, saw in Cleopatra a brilliant strategist. He saw a ruler with a vision beyond her kingdom. Their meeting stretched late into the night, fueled by shared ambition. Cleopatra's strategic gamble had paid off. She secured the most powerful man in Rome as her ally. Her return to power, however, was far from assured. Ptolemy XIII and his advisors prepared for war. The Alexandrian War pitted Cleopatra and Caesar against Ptolemy XIII. Alexandria's streets became battlegrounds. The Nile ran red with blood. The great library was damaged.
I was a valuable ally to Caesar using my knowledge of the Nile. We secured a decisive victory.
Cleopatra became the undisputed ruler of Egypt. She restored order and prosperity, initiating building projects and economic reforms. Cleopatra aimed to restore Egypt to its former glory, solidifying her influence and legacy. Julius Caesar, a man accustomed to victory, found himself disarmed by the young queen. Cleopatra, fluent in Latin and possessing a sharp wit, did not plead her case to Caesar. She negotiated.
Egypt is not a rebellious province but a loyal partner, willing to offer Rome riches and resources in exchange for respect and autonomy.
Caesar, a pragmatist above all, listened intently. Their conversations extended beyond mere politics. Cleopatra, a scholar in her own right, engaged Caesar in discussions about philosophy, astronomy, and the arts.
I shared my vision for Egypt, a land where ancient wisdom met Roman innovation.
Caesar, in turn, found himself drawn to her intellect, her ambition, and her undeniable charisma. Theirs was a meeting of minds as much as it was a meeting of empires. Word spread through the Alexandrian court like wildfire. Cleopatra, the exiled queen, was back within the palace walls. Not as a captive, but as the true queen of Egypt. Position that spoke volumes in the language of power. Cleopatra, never one to miss an opportunity for a grand gesture, invited Caesar on a lavish journey down the Nile. Aboard a magnificent barge, adorned with gold and silk, they sailed through the heart of Egypt, the riverbanks echoing with music and celebration. Cleopatra, once again in her element, showcased the splendor and the history of her kingdom. She understood the importance of symbolism, of weaving a narrative that presented her as both a powerful queen and a wise steward of her people. Mark Antony, known for his charisma and military prowess, arrived in Egypt. Their meeting marked the beginning of a powerful and passionate alliance. News of Caesar's assassination on the Ides of March, 45 BC, sent shockwaves through Cleopatra's court. The man who had been both her lover and her political protector was gone, leaving a void in both her heart and in the delicate balance of power she had so carefully constructed. Rome, once again embroiled in civil war, was a dangerous place for a foreign queen, even one as shrewd and as well-connected as Cleopatra.
I am a survivor. I mourn Caesar's death, both publicly and privately, but I also recognize the need to adapt to this new reality.
She focused her attention on securing Egypt's borders, strengthening her alliances, and consolidating her power. Cleopatra knew that her position, as a female ruler in a world dominated by men, was precarious. She needed to be even more cunning, even more strategic, to ensure her own survival and the future of her kingdom. The Roman world, meanwhile, was in turmoil. Caesar's death had sparked a power struggle between his adopted son, Octavian, and his loyal general, Mark Antony. Cleopatra, watching from afar, knew that this conflict would have profound implications for Egypt. She needed to choose her next move carefully, for the fate of her kingdom and her own destiny hung in the balance. The stage was set for a new act in the drama of Cleopatra's life, one that would pit her against new enemies, test her loyalties, and ultimately lead to a tragic and unforgettable end. Despite Cleopatra's best efforts, the Roman tide continued to rise, threatening to engulf her kingdom. The Roman Republic, racked by internal divisions and power struggles, was on the verge of transforming into an empire, led by men who had little patience for even the most cunning of client rulers. The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC created a dangerous power vacuum in Rome. Cleopatra, though personally devastated by Caesar's death, recognized the need to adapt to this new reality.
I carefully assessed the players vying for control of Rome, watching as Caesar's adopted son Octavian and his loyal general Mark Antony emerged as the dominant forces.
Cleopatra knew that aligning herself with either man carried immense risks. Octavian, though young, was ambitious and ruthless, determined to consolidate power and avenge his father's murder. Antony, though a seasoned general, was known for his love of luxury and his susceptibility to flattery.
I chose to bide my time, carefully observing the shifting dynamics of Roman politics before committing myself to either side. My decision, when I finally made it, would have far-reaching consequences, not only for myself and my kingdom, but for the future of the Roman world.
The Serpent of the Nile, as Cleopatra was sometimes called, would once again find herself entwined with the destiny of the Roman eagle, their fates inextricably linked in a dance of power, ambition, and ultimately, tragedy. Cleopatra's intelligence lay in her understanding of timing and nuance. She knew when to assert herself, negotiate, and charm to achieve her aims. Her decision to seek out Julius Caesar was a calculated risk that paid off handsomely. Cleopatra was a master strategist, a skilled diplomat, and a shrewd observer of human nature. She understood that power, especially for a woman in a patriarchal world, had to be earned and wielded with precision. Cleopatra's story is often reduced to her romantic entanglements, but she was a master of the game of power. History often reduces powerful women to their physical attributes. Cleopatra, often portrayed as a seductress, was much more. She was a woman of formidable intellect and a shrewd diplomat. Fluent in multiple languages, she communicated directly with foreign dignitaries.
I engaged in intellectual debates, demonstrating a keen understanding of various subjects.
Her court was a center of learning, attracting artists and thinkers. Cleopatra understood that knowledge was power. She used her intellect to impress allies and intimidate enemies. She challenged gender norms, proving a woman could be both beautiful and brilliant. Cleopatra's charisma was undeniable. She possessed a natural magnetism that transcended cultural barriers. She understood the power of presentation and image. Cleopatra was a master of self-presentation, adapting to both Egyptian and Roman customs. Cleopatra played a dangerous game, walking a tightrope between maintaining her independence and appeasing the ambitions of powerful Roman generals. Even in defeat, she displayed a cunning and a resolve that cemented her legendary status.
My alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were strategic masterstrokes that allowed me to keep Egypt from being absorbed into the burgeoning Roman Empire.
Cleopatra's diplomatic maneuvers were nothing short of brilliant. By aligning with Julius Caesar, she secured her throne and gained a powerful ally who helped her reclaim Egypt from her brother Ptolemy III. Her relationship with Mark Antony was equally strategic. Together, they formed a formidable alliance that challenged the authority of Rome and expanded Egypt's influence. Cleopatra understood that survival often required making difficult choices, compromises that might be seen as unpalatable, but were necessary for the greater good of her kingdom. Her story, though ultimately ending in tragedy, is a masterclass in strategy, resilience, and the art of survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. The Roman world, however, was not ready for a woman like Cleopatra, let alone one who dared to challenge its ambitions. Captivated by Cleopatra's intellect and charm, Mark Antony found himself increasingly drawn into her orbit. Their alliance, a potent mix of love and political strategy, gave birth to a new power block, one that directly challenged the ambitions of Octavian. Rome watched with a mixture of fascination and apprehension as Antony, the seasoned general, seemed to fall under the spell of the Egyptian queen. The Battle of Actium in 31 BC marked a turning point in Cleopatra's fortunes. Antony and Cleopatra's combined forces, facing Octavian's superior navy, suffered a crushing defeat. Legend has it that she chose to flee the battle with her remaining ships, a decision that would later be used by her enemies to paint her as a coward and a traitor to Antony. The truth, like many details of Cleopatra's life, remains shrouded in the mists of time. What is certain is that the defeat at Actium shattered Cleopatra's dreams of an independent Egypt. She returned to Alexandria, her power diminished, her kingdom vulnerable. Antony, his reputation tarnished, followed her. Theirs was a love story now playing out against a backdrop of impending doom. Octavian, sensing victory, advanced on Alexandria, his legions tightening the noose around the last pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra, facing the inevitable, prepared for her final act with a heavy heart. She had always been a ruler who understood the power of imagery, of shaping her own narrative.
I would not allow Octavian the satisfaction of parading me through the streets of Rome as a captive. My dignity was all I had left.
Her death, like her life, would be on her own terms, a testament to her unwavering spirit. The circumstances surrounding her death remain a subject of debate among historians. The most enduring image is of the queen, in her royal regalia, calmly accepting a basket containing an asp. Whether by snakebite or some other method, Cleopatra's death was swift, a final act of defiance. Antony, upon hearing of Cleopatra's death, took his own life, falling on his sword. Their deaths, though tragic, served to cement their legend, transforming them into iconic figures. With Cleopatra's death, the Ptolemaic dynasty came to an end. Her final days were a blend of sorrow and resolve. Egypt became a Roman province, its treasures shipped back to Rome. Cleopatra's legacy, however, endured. Cleopatra's story did not end with the fall of Alexandria. Her legend, fueled by Roman propaganda, continued to grow. She became a muse for poets and playwrights, her story retold through the ages. From Shakespeare to Elizabeth Taylor, Cleopatra is an enduring icon, a symbol of feminine power and resilience. What fascinates us about Cleopatra's story? Perhaps her intelligence and political acumen, or her ability to navigate Roman politics with skill, or her tragic love affair with Mark Antony. Cleopatra's story is a reminder that history is not just dates and battles, but a tapestry of real lives, ambitions, and tragedies.
My life, though ending in defeat, was anything but a defeat. I lived on my own terms and left a captivating legacy.
Her story reminds us that ambition and love can leave an indelible mark on history. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, may have lost her kingdom, but her legend endures.
I, Cleopatra, dared to challenge an empire and claim my place in history. My legend, like the Nile, continues to flow.
Historians like Stacy Schiff have noted Cleopatra was a shrewd strategist and an astute negotiator. Modern interpretations continue to explore her multifaceted persona. From fashion to art, her influence is unmistakable. Cleopatra's legacy transcends cultures and eras, a testament to her enduring allure. As we close the chapter on Cleopatra's enduring allure, we are reminded that her story is far from over. Her legacy continues to inspire and influence, a testament to her incredible life. But what of the future? What lessons can we draw from Cleopatra's tale in our modern world? In an age where female leadership is still a topic of debate, Cleopatra's story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience women have always possessed. Her intelligence, political acumen, and ability to navigate the complexities of power dynamics are lessons in leadership that remain relevant today. As we look to the future, let us draw inspiration from Cleopatra's life. Let us remember that true power lies not in conquest, but in the ability to inspire, to influence, and to leave a lasting legacy. Cleopatra's story is not just a historical account. It is a beacon for future generations. So, what will your legacy be? How will you navigate the complexities of your own time? As we ponder these questions, let us honor Cleopatra by striving to create our own enduring allure. And remember, the story of Cleopatra, like the Nile, continues to flow, reminding us that history is a living, breathing entity, shaped by those who dare to dream and to act.
So my story ends here, for now. But why stop with me? You could learn about my old companion, Julius Caesar, a brilliant leader, though some might say I had a hand in shaping his legacy. Haha. Or perhaps Einstein? A man who understood the universe, though I doubt he could have unraveled the mysteries of my mind. Subscribe to this channel and share your thoughts below. Tell me, whose lives should we bring to life next? Perhaps another ruler, a genius, or someone unexpected?